All right. Well, today's the 29th of September, 2024. It's windy right now. Came over here and I'm not quite sure even what I'm going to film for sure. But my name is Evan Strong, and I am the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, a clothing company that is so much more than just a clothing company. We have In The Image Clothing Company Podcast. We do free videos giving you information on free modifications you can do within your own clothing. We will have clothing available that's made out of 100% natural materials. It's minimal in the sense we don't have our logos on the exterior at all, ever, to just allow the body to hinge and pivot and move as it was designed. We are all universally designed in the image of our living God, who is Jesus Christ. We make bold claims here, how we should not have to stretch. I haven't in over 6 months at least. We shouldn't have to work out or exercise to get up to a certain capability level because the body's designed to work. We recognize our own situations and how people have their own things, surgeries, deformities, injuries, whatever it is, amputations, anything, right? But we talk about the skeletal system of the body and how we all are designed to work the same, right? Just like within an anatomy class, you got that skeletal system that you can just apply to just about every single human that's on the globe. That's what we talk about here at In The Image Clothing Company. So we've got a few prerequisites that I've had since before I founded this company, which are to lace your shoes with In The Image Clothing Company's technique. You can find anywhere you find In The Image Clothing Company media or information. And that includes just tying your shoes even over toward the inside, right? And then pairing the shoelacing with removing the tags from inside your shoes, they're normally in the tongues, and then up through the entirety of all the clothing you ever wear. I personally have made videos on each and every one of those tags in their locations and what they do to the universal human design within every body. Every person gets affected the same by those tags, okay? So, yeah, like I said, I'm not even quite sure why I'm over here. Really what I wanted to do, because it's actually Sunday. It's the Sabbath. And I've got some video ideas, more videos I could film. And I was kind of praying through, like, should I do that on Sunday? It kind of feels like work, and I'm trying to treat Sunday like Sunday and have it be the day of rest. But what I wanted to do was a podcast episode today. And, I love headphones. Actually, in our first podcast episode, it was just me. It was called episode 1, The Launch, right? It's just me, and not that, that's going to be different, because I've mentioned, most of them might be just me. We'll have other people on, especially because our team, once the team grows, we'll just have, the team and I discussing things on podcasts. It's going to be wonderful. A lot of it, like I say, will just be discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. Really almost nothing to do with clothing in a lot of them, probably. What I was mentioning though is that first episode, I had headphones on, right, with like a Bluetooth microphone, and the sound wasn't coming through the mic. I'm aware of that, but it was still cool episode. Still a great podcast episode, so yeah. Man, I don't know, you probably saw me kind of get almost choked up, in the sinuses. This is real, and I mean, people might not really understand how I could be this sensitive to something or whatever, if they're just, pretty out of touch, and, I was out of touch for a long time, but, these pants that I'm wearing are actually 3% spandex, right? They're 97% cotton and 3% spandex, and I can feel that. It clogs my sinuses almost. Also, I'm sitting down. I always talk about how I don't like to sit down, but I'm straddling this seat of this picnic table so that my legs can be really internal still, right? But oh yeah, that's better. I kind of adjust a little bit. Part of it's that, maybe that's a big thing to talk about, is just breathing in general. How I talk about all the time how a lot of people think that they have all these health conditions, and that's not me saying something against them, but it's because doctors have told them they have them, right? and doctors have told them they'll need surgeries. Doctors have told them they're going to need all these medications, and they're on medications and taking all this stuff and doing a bunch of stuff to try to like just allow their body to work, and it's just still not working. Well, the point is, it's usually not. I mean, there's so many things that aren't actually even a real thing, but it's just a symptom. Your body's just reacting to something that's unnatural, right? And so that's one of my prerequisites is the tags, you know, and it always has been and always will be, as long as In The Image Clothing Company is a clothing company, or a company at all, right? A community of people really is what it is. But yeah, removing all the tags is always going to be a prerequisite of In The Image Clothing Company. Man, it's like I can't even breathe. I also could blow my nose, that would help too. It's also windy and dusty, but no, I remember growing up and being like in the car and having the windows down and have this kind of thing happen, like in the nose, right? I'm like, it's like I couldn't breathe. It's like my sinuses would get like blocked off for a second. And people within my family have actually experienced this too. They'll touch like towels or certain materials, and yeah, depending on like what it is, I guess what material really, it like kind of clogs up their sinuses. And like I'm not like, I don't know, I'm not trying to like, I don't know how to explain it, because like look how I'm sitting. I don't sit like this. I feel like uncomfortable, but not in a bad way. Just, I mean, like these pants. Also, another thing is I slept in polyester sheets, right? That's the other thing, is just materials in general. People like will be sleeping in polyester sheets, 100% polyester. I don't know if mine are 100% polyester. I cut the tags off them. But they probably are, or just like very high percentage polyester, right? I think they're 100% polyester. The point is, you know, I always say that our body is natural, right? Like this tree over here, like all these sticks on the ground, like the branches and the leaves on the ground, like the dirt, we're pulled from the clay, right? I mean, everything is doctrinal, everything is biblical, everything comes back to Jesus Christ himself. Our physical bodies are pulled from the clay, and we are natural. So I'm always talking about how we have to try our best to keep our bodies inside of natural material clothing, right? And I do that, except like I was just saying. But I've also talked about these socks that I have been wearing since I started making videos at all, even before we were officially In The Image Clothing Company. These socks are a blend. They're a poly blend of some kind. And but I've been wearing them every day for these videos, like for the past few months even, is what I mean, you know. So I'm never going to be perfect at anything that I'm saying that we should do, but I also mentioned that we don't have like opinions we're pushing at In The Image Clothing Company, but that's a good example. There's 3% spandex in these pants, and it's like kind of choking me up. And the reason why I mentioned that I slept in polyester sheets is because, I mean, the materials kind of wear off and onto each other. You know what I mean? Like this material, some of it will wear off and get onto a material that's like rubbing against it. You know, like if you have a shirt underneath another shirt, those shirts are like touching each other, and so the materials kind of like get on each other, right? And so when you do sleep in something like polyester sheets, it can definitely get onto whatever you're sleeping in, clothing wise. And yeah, I slept in exactly what I'm wearing right now. I just woke up and came over. I don't care who thinks what about that, but I just know some people are like, ew, you. I think that's another thing too. That's the funny thing about these podcasts is, I mean, it doesn't need a structure, because that's the whole point of a podcast, is just kind of like turning it on and just having a whole conversation, or a whole just, you know, rant almost. And it doesn't really necessarily need a structure. I think one thing is I'm used to filming videos where I do normally have like a, you know, topic that I stick around for the video. And these videos that I've, you know, placed were In The Image Clothing Company information, you know, like for the sake of giving out clothing related information and body mechanics related information and stuff. They're usually somewhere around like 15 minutes to an hour, right? And so during that time I try to kind of keep it on just one topic, because they're also all one take, right? As of today, the date that I said, I haven't made a video that's more than one take, except for the very first video I posted. I titled it, Why Your Body Has Pain. And the only reason that one was 2 parts is because I started filming it over here. My phone died. It either died or the storage got full. I think it died. And then I went back home and filmed the rest of it in my room, and then I just spliced it together. So it wasn't, I wasn't trying to make it 2 parts. But the point is, when you're filming like a video trying to stay on topic, and it's all one take, then it's like you try to kind of almost bring yourself back, right? But within a podcast, I don't know if that's really necessarily, because that's the whole point, is just kind of, being raw and authentic and real. I've talked about, we're not going to beat around the bush when stuff's going to offend people. If we're speaking truth, it's truth, right? I could push all the opinions that I want, but if they're not true, then they're not true. And so, like, what's the point, and we are all sinful humans, as I always say. But yeah, the point is, I don't want to try to have to like keep feeling like I need to reel myself back into a certain topic necessarily within a podcast, because yeah, I mean, if it's just me on an episode, then like there's nobody else to be like, hey, what were we talking about this? So sometimes I'll just get all over, but I think that's okay, because again, being the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, I think really anything that I'm talking about that's, well, even if it's just me, right? Talking, as far as like talking about things that are just me, as far as like my approach on things or whatever, like it kind of will give the company more of a, kind of give more background to the company and background to what it's founded on and why I even founded it at all and stuff, right? I think that's a big thing, is just kind of being just very vulnerable, very authentic. And I actually mentioned in the first podcast episode of In The Image Clothing Company Podcast, right, as this is also, that I watched Captain America the night before that, before I filmed that episode. And the first Captain America, and the first podcast episode. Point is, I watched The Winter Soldier and Captain America, The Winter Soldier, right? And then I watched Captain America Civil War the past couple days. Yesterday I watched, a lot of Marvel movies recently, but, and I don't normally watch movies, but what I'm getting at is something. I kind of forgot, honestly. Oh, well, no, yeah, but Captain America, I mean, what they do within the writing of those movies is really try to keep him as this, like, just very honest man, just trying to do, like, what's best, trying to always uphold truth and righteousness, really, I mean, gospel principles, the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I love that, because it's cool to see within those movies where people will kind of be like back and forth as far as like on his side and then not on his side, right? In Captain America Civil War, there's certain people who are like so with him, but then in certain parts they're like, Cap, like, you're going too far with this. Like, I understand you're trying to do what's right, but you're going too far. And he's like, no, I'm just doing what's right. And that's kind of what I talk about here, where we can have our opinions, but opinions don't really matter. But if we're really just trying to follow Jesus Christ and always do what's right, none of us sinful humans, I or any other human, he or she, are ever going to be perfect at that. But as long as we're really just centering everything we do around Christ, then I guess like what's kind of, what I was saying about the movie is those people who were kind of telling me he's going too far later are like, you did the right thing, and he's like, yeah, I mean, that's the point, is a lot of times even the people we love the most, or even the people who love us the most and want the best for us, they might actually be trying to, like, I don't want to say like stop us, right? But like almost telling us we're doing too much, we're going too far, like to let something go, when we know that we, that's not what we should be doing. And that's the whole thing, is just listening to the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit, that, the discernment within us, because yeah, I mean, what seems too far to some people is either they just would have given up at that point or by that time, or they just don't really understand what you're really doing, and not that any of us are ever going to be perfect, but I think, Captain America's beautiful, the series and the movies, yeah. So anyway, I guess what I was saying is, I love Captain America because he's so different. but he really is just doing, to the best of his ability, all that he can do that's true, that's right. Oh my heavens, that's one big thing. There was that line, I think it was in the first one, yeah, first Captain America, as far as I remember. I don't even remember exactly what the scene was, but anyway, when Captain America was fighting somebody, the other person's like trying to convince him that they think they're doing what's right, or they're doing what's right, and he's like, then why are you running? Right? I got this whole thing on running. Talked about it before, not within In the Image Clothing Company like videos or anything, but talked about it like with other people. I actually made a video about it that I ended up deleting and stuff, but the idea of running, it's been something big throughout my life, because growing up and running from emotion and running from accountability and stuff, not because I didn't want to take accountability, but I was around people who would always blame me for everything, right? And I would have to take the blame for things, and I would be the scapegoat. And then when that happens, it makes you a little bit, try not to take accountability for things, and then try to run away, right? When you don't want to, but everyone's just blaming everything on you anyway. The point is, I'm at a point now, knowing the truth of all things, knowing Jesus Christ himself, having a very personal relationship, a deep-rooted testimony that could never be shaken. Running is something that, yeah, I understand why Cap says it. Cap, meaning Captain America. There's a little jumping spider right here. Oh, you can see it. Yeah, Captain America is he's always saying, stop running. We face this, that kind of, those kind of things. I mean, even in Civil War, I don't want to give any kind of if you haven't seen it, but anyway, the point is, even if he fights somebody and they're going at it, afterward he always comes back to him. If you ever need anything, he doesn't change, and that's, again, it's very, very much emulating Christ, how Christ never changes. He never changes his opinion on us, and he never changes his love for us, no matter what we do. And we do some pretty terrible things as humans, right? All of us, I included, right? So this spider might just jump right onto me, but yeah, so I just love that. I love the morals within Captain America, because it's a good example where it's hard a lot of the time to just keep coming back to people who have really wronged you, right? But then just saying no matter what, we gotta face everything, because nothing goes away, and again, that's how it is within the truth. I mean, within everything, there's no difference within anything, because again, Christ is and created all things, and nothing leaves, nothing goes away. I mean, we're going to get judged after we die for everything we did, the good and the bad, and every second of our existence, right? And so you can run from anything you want all your life, and you can try to not face things and just say, no, I'm never going to address that or whatever. But then what about when you die and we are at the feet of our living God, and we have to face everything that we did, and he knows everything, but now also, right? He always knows all, and so it's not like it's going to be some shock later. He knows exactly. I mean, because he knows everything before it happens too, and that's right. Yeah. So the point is just stop running, and not that I don't ever run away from things. I mean, also things get overwhelming or whatever, and we don't know how to deal with stuff at certain times. But I loved that line. I think that's the biggest point of hitting on that way is he's then why are you running? Because Cap's trying to face him. He's trying to fight him, but not because he's just trying to fight. Cap wouldn't fight if he wasn't trying to just uphold righteousness, right? That's the thing. It's that's me. I'm a fighter in a big way. I mentioned and you can just see it in the sternness I have and the way that I address things within videos for In the Image Clothing Company and stuff. I'm just so blunt and direct, because I don't know, I'm not beating around the bush about stuff, because same thing, stuff doesn't leave, so let's address it, that's how Captain America is. I love that. So anyway, yeah, I mean, people a lot of times, and I don't care if this sounds accusatious, right, but it's just the truth, a lot of times people think they can just wrong you and just run away. well, where are you gonna go? You know, and that's what I say, like, well, where are you gonna go? Like, because I talk about, you know, the earth is just the earth. Someone's on a different continent, and really they're just across the pond. Like, we're all on the same earth. Like, where are you gonna run from if you want to just try to like wrong somebody and leave, right? And not that I'm perfect, because I'm definitely not. But what I mean by that is, like, there's been times in my life where I've done that, and there could be times in the future when I do that, just because I'm not ever going to be perfect until I get resurrected through Christ, right? I mean, that's what this life's about, right? And we actually talked about that in the first episode of the podcast, where within the Book of Mormon, there's a verse called Adam fell that men might be, and men are that they might have joy. And I kind of unpacked what that verse means, but really, like, that's the whole thing, is we're supposed to sin as humans, right? And that's kind of like a foreign concept for people who don't understand that, because especially growing up with people trying to tell you need to be perfect all the time. And it's funny, imperfect people telling you need to be perfect. It's like, yeah, where are you coming from? You know, like, yeah. So, yeah. I don't know, I do though. I get disgusted with people trying to run away from things. I've had that happen to me so many times in my life, because even if I have, like, been a part of, like, this wronging, if you will, that happened, like, I'm always just trying to say, like, look, no matter what, we got to talk through it, because, well, where is it going to go? Like, you know, it festers within you, and then, like, also it just happened. It doesn't even matter if anybody else is involved or whatever. It's just, you can't run away from something that happened, right? Things happen and they don't leave. Nothing leaves. So, yeah, just a lot of times with that, just getting disgusted about that, where, you know, you're really, really trying to communicate or whatever, and people just aren't having it, you know? And by that, what I mean is, like, they're not even letting you. They'll just run away and pretend that they can just hide forever. But then at certain times, then people think you're trying to, like, find people to, like, solve something, as if it's, like, something like you're overstepping. It's like, no, like, they wronged me really, really bad, and I want to talk to them about it. You know, it's like, I mean, people get the wrong idea, and yeah, that's the thing, is people are so used to living in their lies. I've lied time and time and time again, right? But the point is, we all equally, as equal sinful humans, we got to come back to Christ and realize that we can't lie. As far as you can lie all you want, but again, it doesn't go anywhere. It stays within you. And I think that's what's so beautiful about the fact how I say, in the Image Clothing Company, we do not speak opinions. Like, I mean, we have our opinions as humans, but what I mean is we're not ever pushing opinions. Like, when I stand here in the field and I'm got my phone on the soccer goal, you know, and I'm like making these claims about how this part of your body's pain is actually from this thing within your clothing, and it's not some opinion. It's just, I'm so bold about it because stuff sounds crazy if you haven't heard it, you know? But yeah, so anyway, truth, right? Just truth. That's the whole point. When people run away, you're running from truth. Because the only time you're trying to, like, address something as it is because there's truth there. And truth does not change. You know, again, it's not an opinion. It's not like this guy can say it's true and this guy and this girl. And no, truth is apart from us. And this is stuff we're going to talk about so much always as In the Image Clothing Company and at In the Image Clothing Company. Because, yeah, we live in a world, just a sin-saturated world, right? Where people like to think that they can decide what's true, but you can't. I mean, I couldn't. I cannot. We can't, right? And it's just so silly that people think that they can. I mean, yeah. So anyway, like I was saying though, I mean, I think one of the big things is putting a title on podcasts, right? It's like, if this episode is, you know, titled something, and then it's like most of it's completely something else, like, I think that's why I kind of feel like there's a need to sort of stay on the same topic the whole time. But I mean, I don't know, you know. I'm just kind of so back and forth with like topics through conversation that I don't know, you know. But yeah, you know, I think that's a big thing also, is when you do discuss stuff like materials within clothing and what they're doing to the body, even that, it's not an opinion, you know. I talk about all the time how things like polyester are just plastic, and it is. I mean, they take oil, right? I mean, I don't know exactly what kind of oil or where they get it, but really, I mean, you can imagine like the stuff you put into your car in the quarts, comes in like a little quart bottle or a 5-quart bottle. be poured into your engine to lubricate your engine. Now, it might not be the exact same type of stuff, but it is stemmed from oil, right? They take oil, they melt it down, and they make plastic, which, I mean, polyester, right? So that's what, anytime you're wearing polyester, you're wearing not only plastic, but you're wearing oil, just because it goes back like that. I mean, here's a water bottle cap. I did not put this here, but there's a water bottle cap on the ground. I understand I'm just putting it back on the ground, but there's also a reflector from a bike that's broken right there. There's some styrofoam. There's a little packaging, something, I don't know, right? Stuff all over the place. The point is, like, that's the same kind of stuff you're putting on your body and calling clothing, right? I mean, like a plastic water bottle is essentially just the same thing as polyester. And I mean, like, I don't know exactly how they're made, but they're both like stemmed from some kind of oil, right? I mean, when it comes to stuff like that, a lot of people think it's like some belief that people are trying to be like, so like, you know, almost like hippie type stuff, you know, when they're trying to be natural, but no, your body is natural, and this stuff is entirely synthetic, and those things don't mesh, you know. So and what's funny about it too is people who will just get all like, you're being too picky about it. Well, their life is falling apart, you know, and they're living in hell. Like, they can't, you know, they're wearing stretchy synthetic material, and the reason I do this is because, like, you reach and it puts you into external rotation, and you get bound up rib cages and scapulas, and your core deactivates, and then you're sleeping in that. I mean, you know, the point is, like, that's what I was saying, is truth, right? I mean, you can believe whatever you want about somebody being too particular or picky about something within their clothing, you know. I mean, the stuff we talk about, the stuff I founded this company on, is just so specific, right? I mean, I have a shoelacing technique that is now in the Image Clothing Company's shoelacing technique that I say you have to do. I say remove the tags from everything, right? Those are the prerequisites. And then I talk about how materials, like I said just now, these pants are 3% spandex, and like I can feel it. Well, first of all, I don't know how they like calculate 3% spandex. It might be like 40% spandex, and they're just like putting a 3% to make it sound better. Like, you know what I mean? It's probably closer to 3 than 40, but I just mean people could have all their opinions, right? Again, it's not my opinion what spandex does to the body, or stretchy materials do to the body, or synthetic materials of any kind do to the body. It's not my opinion, but it's the other end. People can have their opinions on us being people wanting to just let our bodies be natural, thinking that we're being too specific about something, or like making too big of a deal about something. But then again, they're living in hell, right? Their bodies don't work. They're drinking all this man-made stuff and eating these man-made foods and stuff. And not that, you know, I don't do those kind of things in times and places, but the whole point is being intentional, and people thinking that like it's just some belief, you know. It's like, no. I mean, these things just didn't even exist. And I've talked about that too, how synthetic materials, they didn't even exist, right? Just even decades ago, but especially like 100, 200 years ago. I mean, stuff like this, like plastic, it's been less than 150 years. Well, I mean, I don't know for sure, but yeah, I mean, I think it was like within the 1900s, plastic was invented. You know what I mean? Like, people just don't realize this stuff. People are just so blinded by, I don't mean that in a mean way, but people just, you know, people don't want to open their eyes. People like to live in the world. And again, we all get there, you know. I was there at times and places in my life. I'm not just like condemning others, but I am saying we need to, you know, get back to truth, right? Because again, truth doesn't change. And then that goes for me or anybody else, right? If I get far off from something, like I said, I mean, I have, and I am always going to be sinful in this life, right? So yeah, but I just think it's funny. People think you're too particular, but I think it's very important to mention, though, right? I mean, I'm not being accusatious. I understand things now, because what I mean is, I need to be very clear that at certain times in my life, like I'd make fun of people, yeah, for like, you know, I mean, being particular about stuff like that, you know. You get in different phases and you get in different beliefs, right? Again, it doesn't matter. Beliefs do not matter. Truth matters. and I'd be in different beliefs throughout my life about who I was or what was important, and assigning myself to different things or different whatever. And so I'd look at people who'd be like, drinking kombucha, or like, you know what I mean, stuff like that, and I'd be like, what are you, like, I'd be judging them, but just because the people that I was around would judge those kind of people, so I just thought like, oh, I guess this is what we do. But then again, getting back to the truth of what's happening, it doesn't matter whose opinion, mine or his or hers. I mean, opinions just don't matter. They don't matter at all. They don't, right? So truth is all that matters. Yeah, because like, I had this shirt that I bought. It was a button-up shirt, kind of like a salmon-y, corally maroon. I know some of those are quite different, but it was like, yeah, salmon-y color-ish, kind of. I don't know, but it was a button-up shirt, and I thought it was 100% cotton when I bought it. But then I was wearing it when I got it home, and I took the tags out, right? Take the tags out of everything. It's my prerequisite. It's in the Image Clothing Company's prerequisite. Again, not my opinion. I've personally made videos on what tags do, and everybody across any part of the globe can, I mean, it just applies. It's truth, right? It does not change. It's not my opinion. But the point is, I thought this shirt was 100% cotton, and I was wearing it like a week or two after I bought it, and it's like I couldn't even really breathe in it, right? And I noticed that now. But the thing that I noticed, it's not that my body's reacting different to it than it did before, but it's that now my body is so much more allowed to be natural, right? And that's what I always say. We're not like getting our bodies to any point, like getting them there as far as like working up to anything in the Image Clothing Company. That's the whole thing, is we did not design our bodies, and we can't tell them what to do, right? I always say that. That goes for I or he or she. I always say that, just meaning every single human. Within videos, I say that all the time, because we can't. You can do it all you want, and then I always say, right, you can have fun with your stretching routines and your foam rollers, and your body's going to be going through hell, but then you're saying you can tell it what to do. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but there's always repercussions, right? The point is, my body now is just allowed to be natural. Our God created us. We're not getting our bodies to a certain point. They are what they are. They were designed how they were designed, and we just need to leave them that way. We just need to be unaltered by the world, right? That's another thing. When we watched Wakanda, that's not what it's called. We watched the Black Panther, right? The second one I think is called Wakanda Forever. But yeah, last night we just meaning my mom and I, right? We watched, well, I guess, yeah, I know we were both in there for both of them. And in those movies, I mean, those people are so natural, they're so real. I mean, they live in Africa, where, I mean, yeah, Wakanda, it's more of like, it's a Marvel movie, right? So they've got so much like technology and stuff there too, and the vibranium and stuff. But what I mean is, like, people who do live in Africa, like just in real life, not just in the movie. I mean, that's what I talk about. I did a video one time where I just was sitting there talking about, like, I don't remember what I titled it, something about like, let's just have a discussion on internal rotation, or a deep discussion on internal rotation, something like that. And I was talking about people within third world countries, they don't need all this stuff that a lot of people in America are like. I know how that sounds. I'm an American, right? I live in the United States of America. I was born here, but when I kind of like almost mock America, because I understand we got a lot of freedoms and I get it, but it kind of reminds me of within the Bible how Noah, our living God, he was like, man became nothing but sinful always, at all times, and so he wiped the earth clean, besides like Noah and his family and the animals. And the point is, like, even here in America, yes, we got a lot of freedoms in a lot of ways, we do, and yes, we have a lot of privileges in a lot of ways, we do. I understand, but at the same time, it's like in Noah's time, the world changes, and it's not about some laws written on some piece of paper somewhere that says you're free. It's about how are people actually acting these laws and stuff, it's a piece of paper. I mean, what if you burnt that piece of paper and there's no other documentation? Who's going to say there was a law and who has any kind of authority? The point is, Jesus Christ has the authority, right? I mean, yeah, it's about the individuals and how we're actually acting. So the point is, I just want to kind of clear that up, that I'm not just bashing America, because yeah, right, I recognize it, but I also, yeah, I got a lot of stuff that I'm not so fond of here, right? Because I mean, I've talked about, the point is, in third world countries and stuff, they're connected, right? And people here in the United States of America, they'll send things over there thinking they're helping them by giving them like synthetic toothpaste and hygiene products and shampoos and conditioners and whatever that's just like made out of chemicals. And they think that they're helping these third world countries. And when they receive this kind of stuff, I picture them just being like, what is this? And just like not knowing how to even dispose of it, because then they don't want to throw it into the earth, right? And so now they're just like in this kind of like almost bind when Americans thought they were helping, right? Stuff like that. It's just so absurd. Just how, but again, I mean, I was at places like that within my life. I'm not just judging as if I've never been that way, but it's so absurd that we're just that out of touch, right? Because the point is, these people don't need all these synthetic hygiene products. Within that video that I was talking about internal rotation, and then I got into third world country discussion like that, I mean, really what they need is clothing, right? Made out of natural things. But I mean, they can make their clothing and they can, but the point is, like, the body, it's always about the body itself. And I always talk about, right, it's the skeletal system and the positioning. I guess what I was saying is how people think it's some opinion or some belief that, you know, when you are getting back to just natural. But the key is getting back to it. We were designed in a certain way. We were made out of the same stuff the tree's made out of, right? I mean, you eat anything and you become what you eat, or else I mean, how else could you grow? So, yeah, it's, oh gosh, I think really the point is just truth is truth, right? So, yeah, man, I'm gonna say this. I'm not trying to start something or whatever, but I got a problem with America in a lot of ways. I do. But that's got to be heard correct, right? Because, I mean, you know. But it's just, it's like Noah's times. I mean, it doesn't matter how privileged you seem or think or whatever, right? Because there's a lot of stuff within doctrine, you know, within the Book of Mormon and the Holy Bible, just the gospel of Jesus Christ. There's a lot of stuff like that time and time again throughout history where people will, I mean, if you look at it from a worldly standpoint and a worldly perspective, you know, people got all the harlots and the money and the riches, you know, the wine and the whatever it is at any time, you know. Like I say, I mean, the world doesn't change, right? I mean, it looks a little bit different from generation to generation, but it's always the same thing. We're always just coming here and doing the same thing, whether it was your parents or their parents and thousands of years back, right? So the point is, a lot of times people will look at America, the United States of America, and think it's so great because we've got all of these privileges, but really look at it like stories within the Bible, right? Within the Book of Mormon, true historical events where same thing. They had all the harlots and they had all the money, they had all the gold and the fine clothing and all the things, but it was hell, right? They were living in misery and they were placing their importance on these worldly things. Here in the United States of America, a lot of times people will place their importance on all of these things we have, but then they don't have love, right? All of these items of modern blah 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 technologies and, you know, all the things, and look how advanced we are. Well, advanced in what? Advanced into a deeper hell, right? Advanced more into worldly things. We can't really advance as humans, right? We are under our God, and He created us. We can't advance ourselves. Because really what happens is the more that we get, like technology, the more that we make things, I made a video called What is Truth, right? Talking about this, right? Obviously, Jesus Christ is the truth of all things. But that's the thing is, within that video, I was talking about how we can't really create anything. You know, we make things as far as like but even that, we don't make stuff. I mentioned how there's that like universal law or whatever, right? How matter can't be created or destroyed. But our God is outside of everything and he created the universe itself, right? The point is, like, anything we make, like this bench or a building or whatever, like the technology we have, you know, it'll always just return to the earth, just as our bodies will too. You know, we everything just comes from the earth and it goes back to it. I mean, we aren't making anything. We're just taking things that our God made and we're putting them together kind of like Lego blocks, right? Seriously. So the point is, I say a lot of time I don't care if people get offended when I say stuff, because if it's true, it's true, right? And that's one of those things. Like, sure, yes, we have a lot of freedoms in a lot of ways here in America, in the United States of America, we do. But, I mean, we also have so much stuff that people like put importance on that is just, I mean, it's just, you know, people like become not even real. You know, there's so many people within the United States of America. I mean, other countries, not just like it's not just like the United States of America is the worst country on earth. That's not what I'm trying to say, right? But I live here, was born here, and so I can speak for here. There's a fly or a bee in my ear. Because it's where I've lived, right? And I see it, you know, and I actually haven't been to any other countries. But, I mean, you know, you can see people who have come from other countries, and you can see how they're more connected than us. You know, and you can see when people do come from other countries, they get like, you know, they kind of lose touch. I mean, if they're not careful, because that's the whole point, right? Is it's like the beginning of the world. You know, we started in a sinless state with Adam and Eve, and then we got desirous, right? Eve took the fruit, she gave it to Adam, and then they sinned. You know, and that's the thing. We started here in the United States of America as founded on religious freedom and, you know, love, and then we got desirous, right? And that's just how human beings are. That's how we always will be, every one of us, myself included, right? I'm not trying to like put myself apart from Americans. I am an American, but I mean, like, you know, we get desirous. Again, me at certain times in my life, like I wanted things more than I cared about like treating people fairly and stuff, right? And that's what happens. The more things I don't know what word to use. I mean, going forward also, because we'll discuss this kind of stuff all the time within In the Image Clothing Company podcast and just content that we have. But like, I don't like to use the word create things, because we don't create things. I don't like to use the word make things, because again, we don't really make things. And even building things, I mean, I don't know what word to really use, because everything that we do, like, again, like think that we're making or whatever, it always like decomposes and goes back to what it was before. And so I don't know exactly like what word necessarily to use when I talk about that. But yeah, I mean, it's another one of those things. I mean, no matter what you want to believe about it, right? If you think that there is a religion that you should have, or a belief that you should have, well, that's why Christ is not, you know, I mean, yes, we do have our religions within Christianity where we can worship Christ, but they're not religions. We are just going places as communities, and we call like the community, in a sense, I don't know, because I don't want to get so particular with it, but the point is, Jesus Christ is the truth of all things, right? Because even within that, you know, you're discussing the gospel, and you're not pushing a religion, you're discussing truth. That's what's different about the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's funny because in our church, right, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we had this like conference, or no, what was it called? Like a fireside type thing, you know, where we met in the chapel and people came and spoke. Anyway, the point is, somebody was having a discussion on, I don't know all the details as of right now. Like, I don't want to have to like sit and try to think through every detail for the video, because I want to, you know, just kind of having a podcast here. But anyway, somebody was talking about how they were, because the point is, I don't know if they were telling a story about somebody else's experience or if it was theirs. I'm just not trying to get it all perfectly right, because that's not important for this, but they were just talking about having a discussion with somebody from like, you know, they had like a different kind of like background type of thing, you know, and they're like, well, what's the difference between your like understanding and mine, or, you know, what's the difference between this belief and mine, or whatever. And they're like, well, ours is true, right? That's the thing. Jesus Christ, the gospel of Jesus Christ, it's not something that you believe. It's, you have the opportunity to know the truth. And that's what sets us apart as disciples of Jesus Christ, as Christians, as followers of the one and only true God. It's because within all these other religions and things, not even going to cover myself. Yes, no, within all of these religions and things that are man-made, I mean, they're man-made. They're concepts, they're constructs, they're things that people have made up. But Jesus Christ is the truth, right? And I could tell you that all I want, and you don't have to believe me, right? Just like how the truth is always the truth, whether you believe it or not. And that's the thing, it's within you. You will come to know that it is true. You don't just start to believe about it, that it's true, right? I mean, it always starts with faith the size of a mustard seed, right? I mean, just having faith that these things you're hearing about that sound like pretty good things when you do hear about the gospel of Jesus Christ, having faith that maybe they could be true. And then, because it's different. I mean, other religions, you can believe it at certain times in your life and then just choose to not believe it anymore, and nothing changes. It's like, oh, well, it doesn't matter if you believe something that wasn't actually true or not. But Jesus Christ himself, there's a lot of scriptures within doctrine, within, the gospel of Jesus Christ, that talk about how we're only accountable for what we know, right? And if you've never heard within this life the name Jesus Christ, he still dwells within you, right? He still created you, and he is within all things. But we come into this world and get wiped clean, basically, right? It's called the veil that we can't see through. A veil is essentially a curtain, if you were to picture a curtain, and Christ and eternity and heaven really are on the other side of the curtain. It's closed. When we come into this world, it's like we go through the curtain and it closes, right? And we're born into the world. That's the veil. But we're allowed to have access to the other side of that veil through our time in this life, if we are just trying our best to get closer to Christ and know him and remember him. But then again, once we die, that veil is parted and we go back to him. But the point with I forgot. I mean, that's the point in itself, but if I forgot if I was going somewhere with that, if I was just that's what I was saying. But the point is, it's the truth of all things, right? Where it's not some religion to just believe or not. And I was saying, people who have never heard the name Jesus Christ, within this earthly life, we're only accountable for what we know, right? So within this life, if you've been born in a place where there's been nobody around you that has spoken Christ's name, I also love that verse, right? There is power in the name of Jesus Christ. I mean, that's where the power is in his name. So you can pray to whoever, whatever you want, but if you're praying directly to our living God in his name, in the name of Jesus Christ, that's where the power lies, right? And you that's why within Christianity, we always say, when I say within Christianity, that's what I mean. I don't want to say it as if it's some religion, right? No, but we call on the name of Jesus. We call on the name of our God. Otherwise, you could be praying to anything, I could use anything as an example, whether it's a man-made thing, a physically man-made thing, a phone, seriously, right? Or if it's just a tree, or you can pray to whatever you want, but who created all of those things, right? And that is Christ, Jesus himself. Again, Christ is his title. I mean, that's why I say, in the Image Clothing Company, I don't care about the clothing. I mean, I care about having good clothing for myself and other humans, right? To be able to let our bodies do what our God himself designed them to do. But it's not like I'm just trying to sell clothing. I mean, that's going to be great, and we will do it, and it's going to be awesome clothing, and but it's not like this company. I mean, we could never sell an item of clothing, and this company could be amazing. As far as we're going to talk about the gospel of Jesus Christ, we're going to get our bodies back to their natural function, the way that our God designed them, and that's it. The point is, we're only held accountable for the things that we know, right? And if you've never heard the name Jesus Christ in this life, then if you're doing things that are against him and his teachings, again, him being our God, the one who created us, right? Then, well, that's you can't be held accountable for that, at least to a certain level. But within you, you know it's wrong, right? I mean, people talk about like an inner compass, you know, knowing good from bad within you without ever having been taught gospel principles, right? Because again, he dwells within us because he created us in his image, and he is in us. His spirit dwells within everything. You know, I mean, yeah, there's that verse, like, he doesn't dwell in unholy temples, and that's true, but at the same time, like, we're all unholy at points, right? I mean, I've mentioned, like, there's been times in my life, that's what I said in the first podcast episode, I was like, there's been times in my life where I've been a very unholy temple, like, of course. But what he means when he says he won't dwell or doesn't dwell in unholy temples, his spirit doesn't dwell within unholy temples, it's just, we can't remain in that state, right? We all have the opportunity to sin, right? Again, that's what the fall is about. It gives us the ability to experience life in all angles, but the good and the bad. But the point is, we can't stay in that state. Once we meet Christ, we need to change, right? And that doesn't mean we never sin again, because we will. But that's what he, like, within again, historical, real events of when he was here on the earth with us, like in physical body form before he was crucified, right? His 33-year ministry. When he would heal people, that's what he would say. He was like, be thou healed, go and sin no more. Like, you know, or worded very similar to that. When he would heal somebody, he would just say, yes, you are healed, you are cleansed, but go and sin no more. And that doesn't mean don't ever make another mistake, but that means go and change your ways. And when you do mess up, now turn to me, look to me, remember what I have done for you, right? And that's the beautiful thing is just remembering what he's done for us, because the more that we allow ourselves to get connected with him again, which really all that means is putting away the world, right? Worldly things are just in such abundance, and that's what I talk about within clothing. We don't ever, I can't quite say the word ever, I can't speak for the future, but we don't, in the Image Clothing Company, we don't add things to our clothing or to our bodies to help them. We remove things, removing tags, removing unnatural materials, right? We remove things from clothing. We remove, like, cut off things that are, altering the way our bodies would work, because that's what it is, getting closer to Christ. It's not more you have to do, in a sense. I mean, but really it's taking away all of our own beliefs and all of our worldly things and our possessions that, again, are man-made, or even just things that we put emphasis on that aren't man-made. Like gold isn't man-made, but as humans, we put so much, like, worth on something that's just what it is. I mean, gold is just a mineral. It doesn't have any value besides what humans have placed on it. I mean, just like money doesn't actually exist. The TV show The Chosen, which is Dallas Jenkins' project, that is much more than a project, it's amazing, but yeah, it's a TV show about the life of Christ, right? Jesus Christ, and it's a multi-season, 7-season show. They just finished filming the 5th season, but it's going to be out at the beginning of next year. Anyway, beautiful show. I'd recommend that always to everybody. I love it. But what I'm saying is, within the show, there was a line how Andrew, one of the apostles, was talking to, I don't know, it doesn't really matter exactly who they were talking, who was discussing, because you can go watch it, but the point is, he was, like, talking about how John doesn't believe in money, right? And a lot of the stuff within the show is just written for a show, while still being based, around the gospel, right? I mean, like, Dallas and the writers, Tyler and Ryan, they try not to, like, write things that are any different than the Gospels, or, like, they're trying not to add things to it, but, like, to build a storyline, sometimes they add in some dialogue or whatever. But the point is, John the Baptist is who they were talking about, and he's like, John doesn't believe in money, right? John the Baptist is who baptized Christ, because Jesus Christ himself got baptized, right? But And the other guy, whoever he was talking to, I just don't remember who it was right now, but he was like, he doesn't believe in money? What are you talking about? And then Andrew's like, he says it's a man-made construct, right? Designed to take ownership of things, and, you know, because that's the thing is, money doesn't exist because it doesn't. We printed out a piece of paper and called it a dollar bill, right? I mean, you dig up a rock that you think is cool and you say it's gold or like diamond and it's worth something just because you think it's cool. Really, I mean, because it's, you know, kind of more rare than other rocks is really all it is, right? I mean, we just place value on things and they don't actually have value, right? Yeah. I mean, just coming back to, again, taking things away. You know, we place so much emphasis and value on things, but what I was saying is that's how we get closer to Christ. It's not necessarily about doing more. It's about just taking our focus off of all these worldly things and just leaving it on Him, right? So, yeah. I think that's the beautiful thing, and that's how you get to truth, right? Is you take things away, even within, like, you know, disagreements or whatever, or things that could have been like whatever. That's how you get down to the bottom of the truth. Is stop making opinions up, stop like making excuses, and what's the truth, right? And that could be applied to worldly things. Sorry, I got a little distracted. There's people right there, but things like I mean, just anything, you know? I mean, getting down to the bottom of what's actually real, getting down to the truth, man. I mean, truth just doesn't change. Truth is underlying and in and through all things. Yeah. But I love that. What I was talking about with, ow, my knee, dude. Ow, ow. I don't sit, bro. I'm not kidding when I say that. I'm not trying to, like, exaggerate that when I say that. I mean, I do not sit down, at least as of, like, now time. But anyway, no, when I was talking about that fireside or whatever, and the guy's like, yeah, well, the difference between that religion and, like, our understanding of truth is that ours is true. And I don't want to say ours as if it's like we have a religion that we think is true over you thinking yours is true. No, I mean, truth is truth. It manifests itself to you. That's what I was saying about when I started talking about the veil and stuff is, I mean, you don't have to believe truth just because you believe something doesn't make it true, right? Just because I believe something doesn't make it true. I mean, truth is truth. So yeah, anyway, a big part of that, we started into this just because the 3% spandex in my pants, right? Yeah, it's doing what it's doing because it's doing what it's doing. You know, I talked about that, how there's just about nothing stretchy in nature. And I don't need people getting all like, well, there's this plant over on the coast of blah, blah, blah. No, what I mean is you're walking through the trees over here. I mean, what kind of stretchy stuff are you really going to encounter? You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. And so we get these waistbands that are stretchy, and we get materials within clothing that is stretchy, and the body doesn't like it because it's not natural, right? We can't tell our bodies what to do. That's why I always come back to that. I mean, that's the thing. No matter how, like, big we get in the Image Clothing Company, and I hope we get big, right? But I always say, just for the sake of spreading information and helping people just allow their body to work without adding things. That's exactly what I'm saying is, no matter how big we get as a company or a community that is in the Image Clothing Company, like, I don't know what I was saying. I don't. But yeah, I mean, stretchy clothing, it's just unnatural, right? It doesn't matter who believes it is or doesn't or what. I mean, it's doing to your body what it's doing to your body. And you can deny it, but it's true, right? So, yeah. Yeah. Man, this is what I'm talking about when I was saying, like, might get kind of derailed. It'd be so much more ideal to sit like this. This is essentially like the exact same thing as sitting on the ground, right? This is natural. Same thing, right? When I'm talking about truth is truth, I'm always saying sitting is so unnatural, but I've also gone into it, and I've made a couple videos on how sitting is unnatural. I made one yesterday. It was like, yeah, you got no dispute after that one, because I called it the human body doesn't sit in chairs. But I went into it, but the point is, yeah, I mean, this is like sitting on the ground, because I mean, everything is on the same level, right? I'm just on the bench with my feet and my glutes, and this is natural. And now, and you can see how calm I am, and like how I can talk easier, and like now I can lift my arms and I can move, and that's so cool. That's what I'm talking about. Truth is truth. I could claim that like sitting on chairs isn't natural all I want, but it's not, right? People within the United States of America, again, just that's where I live, that's what I can speak for. People are sitting so often. I mean, dude, I've never had look how calm I am now. That's how I need to sit. I can sit like this on tables and, chairs. That's cool. I don't really think about that often, just putting my feet up on the bench, right? Yeah, dude, I mean, I'm just like chill now. You're kind of fighting everything, just, sitting at a close to 90-degree bend in the knees and hips, right? And you could see that. I mean, even just speaking was more difficult that way, because it's just the body does not work that way. It's not my opinion, and I don't get to decide if it does or not. And it's not different for me than any other human, man or woman, or height-wise, width-wise, fat content, muscle mass. No, I mean, that's what I always talk about. This stuff is universal truth. So the point is, I've had a lot of jobs, like W-2 jobs, right? At least a W-2 is just a form that we use in the United States of America to like legally say you work here type of thing, right? I've had a lot of jobs, but I've never had a job where I had to sit down, and I'm so grateful for that. I mean, it's my choice where I work, but like, you know what I mean? That's what I mean, is like I would never choose to work at a job where I sat down. What I'm saying is a lot of people do. In the United States of America, it's so common. You hear about office jobs and desk jobs and other things. And that's another thing, a lot of people are kind of confused with not just my content, but stuff like In The Image Clothing Company. That's what I mean when I say my content. Like, I just founded the company, right? When they hear stuff like what we talk about, they think it's an opinion or a belief or some kind of thing or whatever. Well, it's not. But I've mentioned also like tags within clothing, materials within clothing. I actually said that at the start of this video. A lot of this stuff is only just decades old, right? It's fairly new. Same with desk jobs. They didn't exist. If you didn't have computers, you couldn't have a desk job where you sat at a computer, right? I mean, there was like paperwork type jobs, but that's not quite the same. And then even that, it just wasn't as common, and only pretty recently, right? So that's the thing, is stuff has changed. I mentioned in this video also, where in this podcast, right, where I was mentioning how, sorry, I got massaging my pinky and I got distracted, but I was mentioning how the world doesn't change, but we all just come into it at different times, and it looks a little bit different, but really it's the same. I mean, yeah, in certain ways, there's things that like change quite a bit, but it's still the same. I mean, people thousands of years ago were going through the same things, just looking a little bit different, right? But also, it's very important to realize that these prophecies are true, man. Within doctrine, again, within the Book of Mormon and the Holy Bible, these prophecies are true. And the last days, right? We are living in the last days. And I don't know if any human really could know how close to Christ's second coming we actually are, but very close. And it's, again, I mean, you look around, and the world has never been this way. It's crazy. So, point is, something, I don't even remember what I was saying. But that's why I like this whole podcast setup, I love it's cool. I love the podcast. It's gonna be awesome. But yeah, when I don't even know for sure, man, what I was talking about, but sitting on chairs though, desk jobs. That's what I was talking about. I was talking about how it's so common for people to have a desk job, and your body doesn't sit. And I can tell you that, right? It's like, no, I can't really tell anybody what to do, but I can tell you what your body doesn't do, because we are all universally designed, right? And the human body does not sit on chairs, like the video I made yesterday. It's not a opinion, it doesn't do that. That is not a position it does, and I've gone into it in such great depth, there's no dispute. But stuff like that has changed so much within the world, where people are just so out of touch, man. And again, I'm not like condemning, not putting myself above. I was like that in certain places and times in my life, and there's people that are way more in touch than I am currently, but we have to get back to Christ, that's what I mean, is it's apart from us. It's not like I'm sitting here, you guys are out of touch. I'm like, look, we got to follow Christ. All of us, we got to improve, man. But again, it's not like improving to something. We got to improve on our desires. As far as we got to have less desire for worldly things that aren't even real, and to just desire our God, because he then will provide for everything. So, that we need, not that we want, right? So, yeah, man. Anyway, yeah, I mean, standing and sitting, gosh, man, it's just so, it's sad. It's sad for me to look at people, and they're so caught up in their beliefs. Again, I was and have been and probably will be at certain times in my life, but you're showing somebody truth, because this has also happened on the other end. Again, people trying to do this to me, and I didn't want to hear it, but you're showing somebody truth, and they just don't want to hear it. They don't want to believe it. And it's like, well, you can choose not to believe it, and that's fine, but so could I, and it's still true. You know what I mean? If you don't, stick around for In The Image Clothing Company content, and at In The Image Clothing Company Podcast, like this one is here. We're going to have a lot of discussions like this where, stuff's just true, man. That is true, and it does not change. I can't change it, but I can't make it true. So, yeah. Yeah, man. Anyway, I love sitting like this, because actually, I don't even sit on the ground. When I say I don't sit, I wake up in the morning, I'm on my feet until I go to sleep. Unless there's certain times where I'm actually sitting when I eat, which is rare. I normally stand when I eat too. At least as of now is what I'm speaking on, right? But I don't sit. The point is, sitting on the ground like this, so natural. Because there's always going to be ground, right? It's things like that, stuff that just doesn't go away. We can't not have ground, right? Because it's the earth, it's the surface of our globe is the ground. And so sitting on the ground will always be natural, because there will always be ground as long as there's earth, right? And we wouldn't be here if there wasn't an earth for us to dwell on. Stuff like that. Chairs come and go. You can make all the chairs you want, but then again, it will decompose. Even this metal table, I don't know how long it would take and whatever, but it will decompose eventually, right? It could be a very long time, but it will. Same with anything, right? So yeah, it's stuff like that. That's the thing too. Yesterday, today, and forever, right? That is our God, Jesus Christ. That's the things I'm talking about here. It's like anything you want to talk about somebody eating, it's like, don't eat that man-made thing. It's like, why? How is it unnatural? It's like, how are you to decide it's unnatural? Well, because did it exist at one point, or did it get made by men? And if it got made by men, it is unnatural, right? All the food that we could ever need was here before us, right? We were created on the 6th day, and then the 7th day God rested. And on the first 5 days, he created everything else. Trees were here before us, plants were here before us, animals were here before us, right? All of this stuff was here already, and then he's like, all right, here's Adam, right? Last thing, and I'm gonna take a break. No joke, right? So that's the thing is, yes, that's how I can tell you what is natural or not. If somebody were to say something, or what is true or not. It's like, what's going to always be here, whether we have a say in it or not. That's something, again, it's undisputed. You can have all the beliefs you want, but that is undisputed. That's what we talk about here at In The Image Clothing Company, right? So, yeah, cool. Anyway, I think we're gonna wrap this up, but I love it. I love this. I love this so much. I mentioned in the first episode of the podcast, In The Image Clothing Company Podcast, that out of all the things that we do at In The Image Clothing Company, yes, the goal is to get our bodies back to just their natural state within our own situations, right? Even if your body doesn't operate how you think or wish or hoped that it would, the way that it was designed by our God, who does not make mistakes. And yes, we do have differences, but those things are there intentionally for whatever it is, to teach us something, or to help us grow, or to help others grow by helping us, or whatever it is. No matter what, the point is to get our bodies back to just their natural state, and we do that through clothing. That's how we approach that, because it's the only thing placed physically directly on our physical bodies. It's the only thing that has the potential to always alter our physical bodies, right? Other things get placed on our bodies, I guess, here and there, but at all times, we're always wearing some form of clothing. You know what I mean. Take that with a grain of salt, but we are, right? So yes. But what I'm saying, within that first podcast episode, I said, within all the things that we ever do at In The Image Clothing Company, the podcast will be one of the things that I personally enjoy the most, because of stuff like this, how I can just sit here and just vent and ramble, right, and talk, but about things that are, geared around Jesus Christ, as our entire company at In The Image Clothing Company is, and again, like I always say, as everything is, because He created it all. So, anyway, I mentioned at the beginning, but it is the 29th of September, 2024. My name is Evan Strong. I am the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Our official domain is InTheImageClothingCompany.com. As of today's date, it is still under construction, but that's where you will always be able to go for In The Image Clothing Company stuff. Okay, we'll have the podcast there, or at least a way that you can get to the podcast, like a link from there. We will have clothing eventually, 100% natural material clothing. Within our designs, we will always incorporate the shoulder seams on top, sitting behind the shoulders, the shoulder seams at the edges, right at the very edges, and the pants entirely up off of the hips, very slightly higher in the front than the rear. And we'll never have any kind of tags protruding from the inside, right? All the things that I, being the founder, know that the body needs universally, because we are about the skeletal system. But then we'll also have ways to discuss things with people, right? And whether it's typing to people or video calls to people, and just across the world, right? But we'll have ways to meet up also, going on walks, intentional walks, as far as like movement kind of walks, community walks where we can have discussions while we're out there on the body, right, and the clothing, and we can help each other. We can build the community bigger through those kind of ways. So yeah, we're gonna have a lot of stuff to do with the body, the human body, but really the only reason is because our God designed it, and is just getting it back to its natural workings, the way that He designed it to work. And then we have all been altered to some degree by the world, whether that is clothing, or whether that is things we're taking part in with our hands, or lifestyle choices, a lot of flat things I talk about within modern 2024 that weren't there before, stuff like that. So yes, that is the whole point, the whole goal, the whole intent around and in The Image Clothing Company. This is In The Image Clothing Company Podcast, episode 2. Stick around, and thank you.